I'm a little late with today's video report, but I did it for a reason, guys. For those of you out there that found a cure for insomnia simply by watching last night's games between Tennessee and App State or Vanderbilt and South Carolina, I wanted to give you a little extra rest and recovery time today. Can you say boring? Yes, that's what you got from the mighty SEC last night from three of its cellar dwellers. Those three teams, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee, they combined for a whopping 43 points last night. Meanwhile, Western Kentucky from the mighty Conference USA, hell, they put 46 points on the board all by themselves. Then you had Vanderbilt's Derek Mason last night. Yes, that Derek Mason, the same guy who spent the entire offseason touting how good his quarterback was going to be this season, the sophomore Kyle Shurmur, how all his quarterback did. For the first time during his coaching tenure, he watched his quarterback produce an offensive touchdown in the first half of a season opener. He watched his quarterback give him a 10-0 lead early in the second half. And what did he do? He pulled his quarterback. He went to the backup early in the second quarter. Boom, 10-0 lead. No more points for Vanderbilt the rest of the night. South Carolina comes back and wins the game 13-0. And Shurmur, after the early momentum, he finishes 8 for 22 for 73 yards. Can you say Derek Mason might be the first coach fired in the SEC? Last year, you lose your SEC opener, or your home opener. You lose to Western Kentucky 14-12. And this time you lose to South Carolina, who Will Muschamp once again shows that he's not an offensive genius. He's not much of a genius anyway, but at least you earned a reprieve because, hey, you got the Gamecocks to win. You also played rotating quarterbacks. Made no sense, but hey, you at least escaped with the win. Butch Jones, that powerhouse you're building in Knoxville, you're lucky. You needed overtime to win at home against App State. Shame on you. 21.5-point home favorite, and you need overtime to escape with the home win, 20-13 against App State, for goodness sakes. Then, of course, you have Western Kentucky. Listen, I went 2-0 with the complimentary plays here yesterday, and I told you Western Kentucky, among the two plays, the other one being Indiana, I thought was the best bet. Western Kentucky, of course, lost a bevy of offensive talent, including their star quarterback, but they brought in a transfer, a guy who started a number of games for South Florida a couple of years ago, Mike White. And it's the system sometimes that truly is the key to success for some of these smaller programs. I know growing up watching the 49ers and Bill Walsh, and I'll never forget, I can't tell you what year it was, but I know maybe Montana and Young was out, and it was a guy, was it Mike Morosky, I think is the guy's name. I think it was Mike Morosky, and he was quarterbacking, and he played well all of a sudden for the 49ers, and it was the system. Everybody was saying it was Walsh's system, and that left such an impression upon me as a kid, and I've watched it repeatedly, especially in college football. It's often the system that produces the points. You put an adequate quarterback in the system, and the system delivers. Well, last night, Mike White, in his first start since the 2014 season when he was with South Florida, Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, didn't skip a beat because Mike White went 25 for 31 for 517 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Western Kentucky rolled at home 46-14 against Rice. Indiana, my other complimentary play last night. Now, the Hoosiers took a little bit to get rolling last night at Florida International. They, as I pointed out in yesterday's video report, had imported a highly rated passer in a pro-style offense, the number 3 JUCO recruit coming into the season in terms of running a pro-style attack. They took him in, and he was given the starting quarterback job. And the Indiana offense struggled a bit. But then 22 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. They took care of business as a 10.5-point favorite of Florida International, rolling 34-13. And that quarterback, 18 for 27, 240 yards and 1 touchdown. But last night, the Hoosiers really didn't have to throw the ball. They ran it 52 times for 246 yards. And you know, when you reflect on the game, it's something I also pointed out yesterday in the video report about that Florida International Indiana matchup, which will serve you well if you always remember it in the opening weeks of play when you have non-conference games. Consider the conference matchups. Listen, there in that particular case, you had a bottom cellar dweller from the Big Ten taking on a mediocre to average team at best from Conference USA. Bottom line is, I don't care if you are a cellar dweller in the Big Ten and you're playing a mediocre to even a good team from Conference USA. The Big Ten is always going to recruit and get the better athlete than Conference USA 99% of the time. So even if you are a bad team in the Big Ten, the athletes that you have are going to be better by and large on a consistent basis across your entire team than those recruited by the Conference USA team. So it's something to keep in mind as we progress. Now, guys, as you know, I've been recovering from pneumonia. I'm still not healthy. So when I tell you to excuse me for 1 second, because I'm not about to stop this report because I've got a cough, you know why I'm going to do this. Because you're going to have to put up with this because I really should be taking off another 2 to 3 weeks. But I'm back here doing these video reports and back here handicapping the games. Now, listen, congratulations going out to Matthew Parker, because last night he cashed in with a huge $100 play on App State, and you got it for well over half price off as Matthew improved to, God, I don't know what he improved to actually, 28-14 since he joined the site, making $10 bettors a little over $7,900 here. And tonight he has another $100 max wager, number 2 in a row in college football, his rivalry game of the year, Colorado State and Colorado. You get it for over half price off again by using coupon code 100DIMES, 100 DIMES. All your other discounts, all your other coupons are available over the homepage, including my first top-rated 15-dime release, as I come off that 2-0 sweep with the free plays last night. And I think there's one game on the board tonight where this particular favorite is going to be a double-digit blowout winner. I think it's the easiest best bet on the card, and you can get it over on the homepage. An announcement for you that I failed to make yesterday. Let me make it today. 2 announcements, actually. You know, Anthony Red has been a charter member of this site since I started these sites some 15 years ago. Over that time, I have often asked Anthony, who is a professional gambler, if he'd be interested in actually providing analysis for his plays. And he has always said no. This summer, I met with him again, and I asked him for the 100th time, and he said, okay. He didn't exactly say okay willingly. He said okay after I twisted his arm. He muttered a few profanities, and he said okay. And now, when you get his plays, you will get his analysis too. Now listen, Anthony is a professional gambler. He is a street smart guy. He is not going to be breaking it down and giving you chapter and verse and giving this long-winded analysis like some guys here. But he's going to give you his version of why he likes games. This is a guy who, if you go to Vegas, you go to the South Point Hotel, which Steve always says, like when you go to the South Point, it's like being in the witness protection program because it's the far end of the boulevard. It's like the last, well, it's the second to last hotel casino you see before you head down 15 and you're heading towards California. When you're leaving Las Vegas, the next one you see before, or the last one you see is actually the M Resort Casino, which is the other place you'll find Anthony sometimes, but mainly you'll find him at the South Point. That's where he hangs out morning, noon, and night. But this is a guy who really does live, breathe, and sleep and eat at casinos. So you'll find his analysis. You're going to see some stories he'll tell you now and then because this is what he's been doing for 20-some years. This is how he makes his living. I mean, you know, in his IRS statements for his tax returns, his occupation is professional gambler. Yeah, he's a handicapper too, but his real money, this is how he makes it. So I've asked him to give a little color, give a few stories now and then when he comes across them, and to give his take on particular games. It may be a little blue, shall we say, now and then, a little R-rated now and then, but hey, listen, this is what you get from A-Red. If you ever run into him at the casino, this is how he speaks, and this is how you're going to see it. The other change here is that Gabriel Dupont, who's been at the site, well, February would have been 3 years coming up. He is going to go on hiatus as everyday handicapper. He is going to come back and be one of 2 exclusive NHL handicappers here at the site, starting when the hockey season begins here in a month and a half or so. Another guy is going to come on as well and do hockey. Now, hockey is an interesting thing here in this industry. Guys have been trying, including myself, to give away hockey plays and sell hockey plays since the 80s in this business, and there's really been no interest. Last year, something interesting happened, however. Hockey suddenly became very, very big. In fact, in Nevada, in Vegas, hockey had its biggest handle, biggest take in terms of the sports books ever. Hockey was hugely popular. I saw it here at the site, where guys like Trace Adams and Brad Wilton and Chris Jordan started releasing hockey picks late in the regular season and during the playoffs. And my God, you guys went crazy buying hockey. Excuse me again. Yeah, I'm over pneumonia, right? And I'll tell you why. My philosophy of why is this. The same way that baseball betting, you have become acclimated over the past 15 years, baseball betting-wise, to playing games on the run line because it's the only way you can bet baseball. I think you, as a gambler, have become wise enough to realize the only way to bet hockey is to bet hockey on the puck line. And that has fueled your desire to play hockey because it is second nature. It has become commonplace because if you bet baseball on the run line, you're used to betting hockey on the puck line. So Gabriel Dupont, Gabriel Dupont, what do you think he's Italian? Yeah, he comes from Canada. He's a French Canadian. He's in Vegas. You think he's excited about Las Vegas getting an NHL franchise? He is going to be one of two guys who is going to exclusively do hockey here at the site. So that's why he's not doing other sports here anymore. He just wants to focus on hockey. His contract had expired, and that was his choice, and I think it's a pretty cool thing. So that's why he's not here. Now, let's get to your complimentary plays. First of all, in college football tonight, I want to take a look at the game between Toledo and Arkansas State. Now, here you have two teams that, let's talk about the systems. These are two teams that are both high scoring, two teams that have offensive systems that I think that just about any quarterback can be a plug-and-play situation, and they're going to produce points. Now, Toledo, they switched head coaches. Matt Campbell, after a great run of success with the Rockets, took the Iowa State job. But they promoted their offensive coordinator for the past 4 years, Jason Candle, to the position. In fact, even though he was up in the press box, he coached them last year in the postseason. They are turning to a quarterback who was their quarterback a couple of years ago, Logan Woodside, who, as a sophomore back in 2014, threw for over 2,200 yards. He redshirted last year. Actually, in the GoDaddy Bowl a couple of seasons ago, who did he beat? Arkansas State. Yes, and that was a real beating in the GoDaddy Bowl. Now, Toledo last year at home beat Arkansas State 37-7 as a 7-point favorite, outgained them by 267 yards. In fact, Arkansas State only 209 total yards in that game. Toledo had 477. But playing devil's advocate, I have to point out that in that particular game, Arkansas State's quarterback, Freddie Kitchen, at the time, did not play. So the fact that Toledo had 29 first downs and Arkansas State had only 11, no big surprise. However, this is a Toledo team, you may recall, that went to Arkansas and beat the Razorbacks in Little Rock last year. I remember that game vividly because it was my first big loser of the college football season last year. Yeah, you know, unlike elephants, I don't forget big losers like that one. No. This is a team, Toledo, that beat Temple. Temple. I'm going to blame the drugs for the pneumonia. Beat Temple in the Boca Raton Bowl, 32-17 to close out last season. It was a 10-2 year, a 6-2 season in the MAC. I think they get the job done here. They're a 4.5-point underdog here. I think that the experience that they have at quarterback with a guy who used to be their starter, who is well acclimated in their offensive system, I think that is a benefit tonight versus an Arkansas State team that has two new quarterbacks that are going to be rotating tonight. I never liked that whole rotating quarterback thing. I remember as a kid watching the Cowboys on TV with Tom Landry, jerking in and out, Roger Staubach and Craig Morton. I remember meeting Craig Morton later. There was a time in this industry when guys were recruiting former NFL players and NFL coaches to be handicappers. And I remember running into Craig Morton once, and I asked him, hey, did it used to piss you off when Landry used to yo-yo you and Staubach in and out as quarterback? Morton, I mean, he iced me. He didn't have any answer when I asked him that question. So I don't know. I'm taking that maybe he wasn't happy with that. But I used to think that was so stupid because I always looked at that and I thought, just like with Will Muschamp last night, jerking in and out the South Carolina quarterback, just like Derek Mason doing it with the Vanderbilt quarterback. I always think that just is a momentum stopper. And yet that's what's going to happen tonight because Arkansas State's going to give the start to a guy who was a grad transfer from Pittsburgh, Wojtek, who was very successful starting every single game for the Panthers a couple years ago, threw for over 2,200 yards, ran for nearly 500 yards, but then they're going to go with a JUCO recruit as well with the last name of Hansen. He's going to see action tonight. So the fact that Arkansas State has covered 9 of their last 13 at home, that just doesn't really impress me. I just think Toledo is the more complete team. Neither one of these teams play much defense. You're giving me 4.5 points? I'm going to take it with the Rockets in this one. Your other complimentary play, I'm going to take the Cleveland Indians on the run line as $1.05. Underdog, laying the 1.5 runs here at home. Going with Carlos Carrasco at home against Andrew Cashner. Listen, the Indians have won 12 of their last 15 at Progressive Park. They're 42-23 at home. Meanwhile, the Marlins had lost 5 in a row before beating the Mets last night. I know that for a fact because I had the Mets last night. They had gone 5-18 in the month of August before beating the Mets last night. I know that for a fact because I had the Mets last night on the run line. Did I mention I had the Mets last night? So I figure the Marlins, because I'm not involved with that game, tonight they'll lose like they should have lost last night when I had the Mets. Did I mention I had the Mets last night? So anyway, the Indians are going to roll tonight probably by 12 runs because I don't have any money on that game. So the Indians on the run line, your one play, and the other play is going to be Toledo because I think the Rockets are going to win that game outright as a 4.5-point underdog. And that'll do it today for your complimentary plays. And I wish you well, and we'll talk again tomorrow when hopefully my voice will be better and my cough won't be nearly as prevalent on the video report. Good luck, everybody, and I'll talk to you again on Saturday when we do this one more time.